Hello, Brain Trust. Hello, Mad Ones. Hello, everybody tuning in to this here podcast, the return of the podcast, the come out of retirement, not only a brand new season, a brand new era of the podcast. We're coming back like Ali returned to the ring, like Jay-Z, like Jordan came back, like all three of them. If you take away the greatness, and you just go with what you got, but just in the fact of not being retired from doing the thing anymore. We are back. This is Ben Gleib, and you're listening to Last Week on Earth. By the time you're hearing this, it's probably August 11th, August 12th of 2024 in the year of all of our lords, if you believe in lords, and if you don't, just, it's kind of an arbitrary calendar that was established to control us. Either way, kind of create a paradigm and base it on a religion. It's all a control structure, but also it's really beautiful and gives people a lot of comfort in their lives. So who am I to judge? I'm nobody to judge. I'm spiritual myself. I believe in things that you would think are wacky. You believe in things that I think maybe are a little bit less than serious. But as the theme song always indicates, can't we all get along? And we can, we must, we should. It's good to be with you. Again, I've missed you, and I had to bring the podcast back. This podcast launched back in 2011. We are, of course, still on Kevin Smith's Smodcast network. We were a mainstay for many years. We were many people's source of news and making fun of the news at the same time. If you've been in a coma for 7 days, we wake you up, and we fill you in. We've been telling you that since the beginning. But in recent years, I let other projects be the priority. And I just decided the world got too crazy for me to not be chiming in on the regular. I've got to be chiming in on this craziness on the regular. I owe that to myself. I owe it to all of you. And so that's what I will be doing. I will be summarizing everything that matters in the world, determined by my own brain and eyes and just proclivities, and a lot of things that do not matter. And there will be lots of solo episodes, probably mostly, but when a great guest falls into my lap, you're damn right I will bring that guest to you. This podcast has featured some of the most incredible news-making, luminary, noteworthy people on the planet over the course of its run. This is episode 254, by the way, so if you're new to the podcast, you got some listening to do. Lucy, you got a lot of listening to do. Can I still do that accent? Can you do ethnic accents if it's a particular person and not just generalizing the minority group? If it's specific to, like that was Desi Arnaz, obviously a very accurate impression. I'd like to believe you can. Otherwise, I'm back 3 minutes, canceled already. So that's not preferable for me, And this podcast has video now, so you can definitely be like, he's the one who said it, look at him. But whatever, can't control the way you react. Life is definitely looking up since we last spoke. I had to fill you in on some tough life things last episode and then dive into a very deep conversation for the rest of the episode about some very tense issues with my great guest, Sammy Obeid. This will be a lighter, more fun episode. Of course, we will touch on the important things, but we will also have a little fun with that shit, you know what I'm saying? Come on now. Come on. Don't make me play it for you. I'll do it. You'll learn what that means at some point in the future. But there's a certain song I play at certain times in this podcast. It's a bit of an Easter egg, maybe. You'll get to understand all of it. Personally, I lost a camel hair jacket recently. It was a long one, like a pea coat. I always wanted a long length camel hair jacket. Don't know how you lose such a large, heavy jacket. How I didn't realize when I was wearing it, where I think it was on a rooftop on a chilly night, how I didn't realize I was cold after I had taken it off for an impromptu photo shoot because the lighting was so good during magic hour as our sun was going down. And that's the worst I can report. That's good. Lots of great things. I was in Ibiza for a week. Always wanted to go to Ibiza out of curiosity, because people love going there. Went there. It was exactly what I thought. My God, I was not sober for a minute. I was there for a week, not sober for a minute. That's an exaggeration, Mom, if you're listening. And I hope you are not. The only other personal update I'll share with you, personal fun event from this last weekend before we get into the news. I attended a lesbian wedding, my first, of my dear friends Emmy and Bea, who got lesbian married to each other. When two lesbians marry, it is referred to as lesbian married. I'm being told that's not correct. It's just referred to as married. I'd like to take that suggestion off the table and that statement, strike it from the record of my own podcast, which I could edit out, but I won't on account of keeping it as real as possible and mostly laziness. But it was the time of my life. Those 3 days were so much damn fun. It was the most creative, out-of-the-box, love-filled, well thought of, out-of-the-box, no pun intended, love-filled, incredibly enriching, eye-opening, just sheer fun. I mean, there were talks on love and relationships from experts. There were talks on appreciating fruits in a way you normally ever haven't have. There were late-night sensual dance parties. There was a drag show that I announced comedically with Julia Allison, the former NBC fashion and many other types of reporters. I call her Rainbow. She goes by Rainbow a lot of the time. It's not like I'm making that up solo. Don't accuse me of that, please. I would never call somebody Rainbow without their permission. Yes, I would, but not to their face. And it was incredible. There was even, I did a little stand-up. We had a cake-making contest that was unbelievable. The theme of the cakes was trying to find the sperm donor for our friend's future baby. And that was the theme of the cakes. And these cakes, let me just say, were graphic. These cakes were so graphic. I mean, there was vagina-shaped cakes. There was cakes with representations of sperm with people at the wedding's head on them, dudes who could be the donor. That was my team, and we did win. But remember a few years back when there was one of the issues that divided our country, as issues tend to do these days, was whether cake makers should be forced to make cakes for gay weddings. After seeing these cakes, I think they've got an argument. I don't think you should be forced to make some of these cakes. And of course, I say that comedically, and you shouldn't be forced to make maybe a graphic vagina cake. But if it's a nice, normal cake for a gay wedding, make the cake. I think you got to make that cake. If it's a regular cake. But, graphic, anatomically correct cakes. I think gay wedding or straight, you should be able to opt out to a lifetime of happiness to Emmy and Bea. We always start with the most important story in the news every week here on Last Week on Earth. This week's no exception. Hurricane Debbie blows $1 million in cocaine onto Florida beach. I will often yell the topic of the next story, just FYI. Yahoo News reports. Hurricane Debbie landed in Florida last Monday, bringing high winds, check, pouring rain, check, and 25 tightly wrapped packages of cocaine worth more than $1 million. Holy moly. Followed immediately by thousands of tweaked out dudes low on their supply, just running, trying to snort the sand in hopes. Because they have high hopes. And very sandy noses at this point. Debbie, which hit the state's northern Big Bend region as a Category 1 hurricane, but then was downgraded to a tropical storm, as often is the case with these hurricanes that really come in strong and then don't really deliver in the bedroom like the way you wish they would. It washed the trove in this case, though, of drugs ashore all along Florida's southernmost tip, the tip of the penis of America. Just kind of dangling down there in the ocean the way penises do. Hurricane Debbie blew 25 packages of cocaine, 70 pounds, onto this beach, said U.S. Border Patrol Acting Chief Patrol Agent Samuel Briggs II. Rumor has it before he commented on this, there were 26 packages of cocaine, and he was speaking very fast. The load of drugs, which Briggs reported was valued at more than $1 million, discovered by a good Samaritan and a real square who contacted the authorities. Unless there was originally 50 bags, in which case, strong move. Pretend to turn it in, but then keep a little bit for yourself. In July of last year, the mayor of Tampa, Florida, the way they should pronounce it, similarly discovered 70 pounds of cocaine that had been washed ashore in the Florida Keys while enjoying a vacation day. He said he really enjoyed it by the end of that day. The Keys are a string of islands stretching off the state's southern tip. They're the balls, if you will, of America. Located right near a lot of Caribbean countries that serve as a transit hub for cocaine being trafficked from South America to Europe and North America, including into Florida. I auditioned to play a drug lord, kind of a pimp guy, for a show coming out on one of the streamers or CBS or something. It was a great audition. I didn't get it. So my character actor that gets all the things got it, and it hurts. It hurts. Don't think it doesn't hurt me. It hurts my feelings. Man names himself. A man named himself literally anybody else. ABC 13 reports. Dustin Eby, 35-year-old middle school math teacher from North Texas, has thrown his hat into the ring in a big way. Changed his legal name to literally anybody else and is running a write-in campaign for president of the United States in Texas, where he did not get enough signatures to get on the ballot, and in Tennessee, where he did get enough. So in Tennessee, you can vote for literally anybody else, which I think is a very strong statement to make in this very strange political season. His running mate, Neil David Sutz, much more boring name, Sutz, a New Yorker currently living in Switzerland. L said, Americans deserve better than the divisive partisan electoral system we currently have. This name gives everybody something to point to channel, that being to one movement, to one message that could hopefully have a meaningful impact. It will not. But cute, though. Really cute. How can I succinctly-ish fill you in on the big-time presidential politics over the last, we usually cover this last week, but since it's been such a gap, I'd be remiss to not summarize the month of insanity of this presidential run, where it seems like Biden and Trump just kept trying to one-up themselves. Biden goes on TV and forgets how to speak. Then Trump's like, yeah, you're going to take all the headlines on account of forgetting how to be human. I'm going to get shot. Get shot in the ear. Then Biden's like, yeah, you're going to take the headlines away from me on that. I'm going to drop out. I'm out, baby. And now Kamala's the nominee. It's been laughing ever since. Oh, Joe. Oh, Joe. Thank you, Joe. Surging to the top of the polls, taking the lead over and leading on Trump now in the majority of polls on account of being the one candidate who's not on death's door. And I say that with great respect. That Biden debate, I was one of the first that went on. I went on Don Lemon live immediately after the debate and called for Biden to step down. He had no choice. It was clear to me. I was one of the first people to say it. A few on CNN hinted towards that. I straight up said it and even suggested a speech he should step down with, which I will be honest with you, he lifted significant chunks of. But happy to help, He didn't lift directly, but, some of the essences. But then again, it was also obvious what you had to say. So I rescind my bitter statement. That debate, man, he comes out there, he's like, listen, folks, here's what we're going to do. The notion, folks, that I know what I'm saying, it's wrong. And see, the problem is this guy over here is Donald Duck. Donald Duck, he broke the railroads. And I was talking to my own reflection in the mirror named Barack Obama. And I said, the idea, folks, that Rocco Bombera, folks, and my vice president, Kamala, Donald Trump. So the point is we broke Medicare. That was his best answer in the debate. So it was a bit of an issue. I think anybody without lying eyes could realize, but a lot of people had lying eyes and were convincing themselves that he could stay in and somehow still win the thing. It was such an absurd appearance that Trump himself, who never shut up a moment in his life, was dumbfounded. He was like, what do you say in a situation like this, okay? What do you say? It's very hard to chime in. Okay, he's sitting over, he's sweating like a dog, okay? He's like a dog. It's very scary. Does he need water or something? Okay, it's hard to know. I like presidents who don't have strokes mid-debate. Okay, I love a president that doesn't have a stroke in the middle of the debate. Okay? And then Trump goes and gets shot just in the ear. Not even like the main part of the ear where you hear from. Just the top tip of the ear. Got grazed. Just enough to get perfect amount of blood for a photo op. But zero permanent damage. And a week and a half later, took the bandage off. That he was wearing a comically huge white gauze bandage covering the entire ear. And why, when there was no damage to 80% of it. And his fake doctor, Ronnie Jackson, who he called Ronnie Johnson, who he believes is Don Johnson from the Miami Vice television series probably, said it was a 2-inch piece of his ear that was ripped across by the bullet. And then literally not even a scratch there. I get a mosquito bite. It lasts me 6 months, you see it. 6 months. And I'm not saying Trump faked it. I would never say that. I would never say publicly that Trump faked it. Now with my face on camera. I don't know that he did. Obviously, a real human being died and 2 others were seriously injured. Not that I would put that past Trump, but I'm not one who peddles in conspiracy theories publicly. No, seriously, I don't have any evidence beyond just the incredible convenience that the man's ear was slightly grazed. I got an ouchie in my ear. I understand other people were hurt, maybe killed, whatever, didn't reach out. Don't know, don't care. But my ear, ouchie, okay? So, let's just say he was the most incredibly lucky man. And for some reason, the Secret Service let a rooftop in direct view of him, very close by, be unmanned. And then they knew there was a man on there with a gun. And then they decided to just observe him and not even have a gun trained on him. And then have other cops that were like, the guy's on the roof. And he pointed a gun at that guy and he just climbed back down and kind of let things keep going until they shot at the man. It's totally normal, huh? A psychic who predicted there would be an assassination attempt on Trump has claimed he will also win the U.S. election. Oh, God, please no, reported Metro UK. Craig Hamilton Parker, dubbed the new Nostradamus, says he can see into the future and has accurately predicted events like the COVID-19 pandemic, Brexit, and Trump being elected president. He also spoke to Metro.uk previously about his predictions for the year, and some of the predictions have already come true. And then when Trump was shot by the 20-year-old gunman Thomas Matthew Crooks at the rally in Pennsylvania, outdoor rally, just 2 days before, the psychic had made an eerie prediction on his YouTube channel that there would be an attempt on Trump's life. He believes people's lives can be foretold by Hindu mystics. I personally be looking into this psychic as maybe being responsible for the shooting. He just guessed it 2 days before. Sure he did. He said he feared there might have been a civil war in the U.S. if Trump had not made it out alive. You don't have to be a psychic to worry about that. Very touchy people, the MAGA people. Very touchy people, okay? The assassination attempt left retired fire chief, very sadly Corey Comparatore, dead, and 2 others with serious injuries. The psychic went on to say, while I predicted an attempt would happen, it was absolutely shocking to see it unfold. Why would it be shocking if you're a psychic and you saw it happen already? You're just seeing it a second time. He said, when I read Trump's reading of his life, I saw his life's work, including being a businessman, then president. But then I read there would be an attempt on his life later down the line. I wasn't expecting this to happen, though. I don't know if he understands what his own profession is. You should expect it to happen if you're good at psychicking stuff. So there's that. He then said this is bigger than the attempt on Reagan's life. I don't know why he now has to rank the assassination attempt suspect again. And he said it was incredible the way Trump handled it by raising his fist and saying fight. And thinks it'll feel more support for him in the run to the election. Of course, he said this before. Kamala came over laughing up a storm. Yes, Joe. And actually is running quite an impressive, exciting, energetic campaign and chose an amazing running mate in Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota, who's everybody's dad. Lovely, lovely man, as compared to who Trump chose, who is a deeply creepy, weird man named J.D. Vance, who thinks if you don't have a child, your vote should count less, wants to take away a woman's right to choose in every way, even with medication abortions, and seems to be anti a lot of LGBTQ issues, yet also seems to wear eyeliner. A little incongruous, if you ask me, and nobody does. And he himself has compared Trump to Hitler. That's the best Trump could find, is somebody who thinks that Trump might be the next Hitler. And he chose him as his running mate. That's the best character endorsement he could get. So I'd like to re-emphasize that point, because if you missed it, I posted it on my social medias at Ben Gleib on Instagram. Hey, boo-boo. Piers Morgan and Ben Shapiro on the Piers Morgan show were trying to blame me. They showed a clip of me on the Young Turks, where I'm still one of the lead anchors, despite a crazy, intense, contentious year it has been. They have stuck by me, to their credit, and probably to the lack of other good options. I'm kidding. And they played a clip of me and other comedians and commentators comparing Trump to Hitler as what led to the environment that would have made somebody want to go shoot Trump, which is insane. Again, because his own running mate did it, because it's obvious, and because it's our job to point out dangers. It's our job in the media and in the arts, to be honest, to point out potential dangers coming. You can't then blame us for pointing out a danger and saying, look, somebody realized it was a danger. And obviously you should never do what crooks did. But it's guns, it's mental health, and it's also somebody poisoning the rhetoric of the country themselves, like Trump does, by constantly making it seem like we're living in this incredibly dark time and using violent rhetoric all the time. Calling that out ain't the issue, okay? Ow, my ear. Ow. Oh, never mind. It was just the headphones were a little bit too tight. I thought I got shot in the ear for a second. Holy moly. What a weird, strange world we live in. Well, Trump previously stated in 2020 he had switched from being a Protestant to a non-denominational Christian, of course, because you don't have to be asked about any specifics. Following his brush with death, Trump has cast his narrow escape down to the work of God. The Sunday after the shooting, Trump wrote on his Truth social platform filled with lies that, quote, "It was God alone who prevented the unthinkable from happening." It was God himself that saved Trump. If you believe that, I've got a Bible to sell you. I don't actually, but Trump actually does. He has Trump Bibles that he put his name on, and sells a Bible that also has the Constitution in it. And in the same month, I believe, rolled out his golden shoes, his golden sneakers, that he's also selling. If you support this man, you need your head examined. And I'm saying that as a Jewish person and an Israeli person who Trump is pretty darn good for. And it's a bit of a wild card to support the Democratic ticket this go-round, not knowing where they will land on an issue of great importance to me and my family who live in Israel. But I think it's all good. I believe Harris Waltz have good morals on their shoulders and will stick by our ally while also doing what is important, which is calling for, firstly, the return of all hostages, and then a ceasefire that can hopefully lead to a lasting peace, which can only happen if Hamas, the terrorist organization that started all this, lays down its weapons and promises to stop trying to eradicate Israel from the face of the earth. And then this horrible war, full of horrible tragedy, on the other side, on the Israeli side, full of mistakes and very aggressive action and so much tragic loss of life and destruction that could have been avoided, and hopefully still anything further can be avoided to bring some much needed peace and safety to the Palestinian people who are just trying, by and large, to live their lives. We can be good. Not exactly sure how I got off onto that tangent, and I'm going to move on now. If you want the deep dive on my thoughts on the Palestinian Hamas, on the Israeli Hamas war, rather, listen to the last episode, the one I came out of retirement briefly for as a special about 8 months ago, back in January, with Palestinian comedian Sammy Obeid, and you get both perspectives in one. That's a 2-for-1 in a free podcast, which reminds me we are brought to you by Filthy Premium Olive Brine. Filthy Premium Olive Brine. Are you tired of having filthy martinis just using olive juice left over inside the bottle? Do you like it real dirty? Try Filthy. We're basically just dirt in a pouch. You like Capri Suns that come in pouches, but instead you want that pouch filled with basically mud, dirt, water that you can put into a martini to make it real dirty and sure, full of actual mud? Try us. And also, if you believe that's a real sponsor, you out your damn mind. You out your damn mind. Also, Trump's campaign was just hacked by Iran. So far, American news organizations are not releasing what the information was that they hacked and was released to the news organizations. It's personal communication, it's campaign plans. My God, they should not have done that, and it's good that the media is not releasing it, but it would be great if they also released it, and it would be great to see what was in there, because Trump is a clear and present danger to our country, but obviously I do not want foreign actors interfering in our politics, and that's the more important one. But my golly, you know there's some fucked up shit in there. You know there's some really damning stuff that could torpedo the campaign of the actively treasonous man trying to still subvert our democracy for his own personal ego. But I guess keep not releasing it. Media, be really good and don't do it. And then the Trump campaign played a Celine Dion song at one of their rallies without permission. And that song was My Heart Will Go On. Her hit, which was the theme of Titanic. Literally a song about a sinking ship. He played to represent his campaign, that of a ship going down uncontrollably, which is how it feels ever since Harris took the nomination and will be officially nominated soon at the DNC, but has been virtually nominated already with Tim Walz as her running mate. Celine Dion released a statement saying, Celine Dion does not endorse this or any similar use. And really that song? It's a really bad Celine Dion impression, but I do my best French Canadian in a big rush there. But I like the use of humor there. When you get slammed by Celine Dion, you really have some life evaluating to do. The world's largest 3D printed neighborhood nears completion in Texas, VOA News reports. Or VOA News, if you like to pronounce acronyms. I do. This summer, the robotic printer from Icon, a robotic printing company, is finishing the last few of 100 3D printed houses in Wolf Ranch, a community in Georgetown, Texas, completely overtaken by wolves. I made that last part up. 30 miles from Austin, they're trying to out-weird the Keep Austin Weird folks by making a town printed by a printer. Of course, the houses will all be gray because the color ink runs out too fast. Ba-dum-tsh. I saw a video of these houses. They look really pretty from a little bit of a distance. Up close, they're just made of literally toothpaste tube paste coming out in toothpaste type consistency, but thicker, and just rows of that on top of it building. It's a very gooey, like if you ever wanted to live in a house made of kind of a goo, when you're up close, it reminds you of oh my gosh, this is like a glue container. So it kind of was meticulously laid down and have walls that feel as though they're not made by a human hand, but that of a goo-filled robot. Your dreams can now be answered. I will say that, the houses look nice in the end. Just if you have bad vision. So there's that. That's not all the 3D printing going on. 3D printed blood vessels bringing artificial organs closer to reality, Science Daily reports. A new printing method is creating branching vessels in heart tissue that replicate the structure of human vasculature in vitro, which I had just learned means in the body and not something about pregnancy. It just means in the body, inside the body, I think. I'm not even sure that I learned it, to be honest. I could have been wrong and incorrectly learned it. But lab-grown organs are the holy grail of organ engineering. Anybody who knows anything about wanting fake organs knows that. And it's yet to be achieved, but new research has brought that goal a big step closer using this new 3D printing method called CoSwift. It's an acronym, but everybody's trying to cash in on some of that Taylor Swift money. Some of that Taylor Swift flow. What does Swift stand for? Who cares? Do you really care? Fine. Sacrificial writing in functional tissue. You wonder, do they make projects just based on they thought of a good acronym for random words and they reverse engineer the project? Who knows? CoSwift prints branching networks of double-layered vessels that are infused with smooth muscle cells and endothelial cells into living human cardiac tissue. It can even replicate patient-specific vascular structure. So we getting very individualized with you. Don't worry about it, baby. We're going to get you your exact vessels. Indicating this could one day be used for personalized medicine. Growing functional human organs outside the body is the Holy Grail. This article tells us again. And we also need an updated term for like the big sought-after thing. Because Holy Grail is all we ever use as a species for that phraseology and that place in our vernacular. It's the Holy Grail of organ transplantation medicine that remains elusive. New research from Harvard's Weiss Institute for Biologically Inspired Engineering, or the WIFBAE. That's the acronym for that one. It's less catchy. And John A. Paulson School of Engineering and Applied Sciences, or SEAS, School of Engineering and Applied Science, SEAS, brings that quest one step closer to completion. A team of scientists created this new method to 3D print vascular networks that consist of interconnected blood vessels possessing a distinct shell of smooth muscle cells surrounding a hollow core through which fluid can flow embedded inside human cardiac tissue. They haven't done that part yet. So they're really getting ahead of the game here a little bit. But this vascular architecture closely mimics that of naturally occurring blood vessels and is significant progress, they say, towards being able to manufacture implantable human organs. Published in Advanced Materials, which sounds like a fake science magazine. Here at Advanced Materials, we have real studies backed up by real professional scientists. I don't know why I'm doing air quotes, but you pick up my drift, don't you? Or my Swift. So this is very exciting. They're making it can even withstand the internal pressure of blood flow. It can respond to heart medications and blood medications, just like natural tissue. It can handle it. And it can even start to beat synchronously with the other functional healthy heart tissues. So they think they're going to be able to implant it into people soon. That's exciting. It's a very exciting, more exciting than this next story. Ukraine to unleash robot dogs on its front lines, Yahoo News reports, and we are doomed as a species. Like, it's great for the initial need for the Ukraine war, but now we've got robot dogs just wandering around we have to contend with. I feel like that's highly unnecessary. Ukraine may soon be unleashing robot dogs on its front lines, replacing soldiers for perilous missions like spying on Russian trenches or detecting mines. A demonstration in an undisclosed part of Ukraine, the metallic dog, and I've seen photos, frightening. Frightening. Doesn't even look at all. Doesn't have any of the cute parts of dogs. It's just the frightening parts of angry dogs. The metallic dog is known as model Bad One. He's called Bad One. He can stand up, crouch, run, jump, and pee on you. I don't know why they programmed that in there. Okay, he can't pee on you. He can jump, for crying out loud, by commands transmitted by its operator. Stealthy and agile, they could soon become an invaluable ally on the front line for a Ukrainian army that is short on manpower and wants to invade your nightmares. But they got to repel the Russian invasion of this war that's going on for years now, so they got to try stuff. These are loaded ground dogs. That's the way dogs generally is and are. Hard to detect. They can be used on thermal imaging. They can use thermal imaging, to inspect enemy trenches or the inside of buildings and combat zones. So if you ever need to get into a combat zone, bring that dog with you. You know, usually real soldiers get put in, human soldiers get put into these situations, and it's very, scary for them and very dangerous. What I don't know is why don't they put cameras on the dog? Why just thermal imaging? You should do thermal and cameras. They don't have cameras currently, and it seems like that should have been a pretty obvious move. A more advanced model known as Bad 2 could not be shown for security reasons. It's just too bad. Would you like to see Bad 2? Too bad. You can't. This dog is too bad. And it's too bad you can't see him or her. So, can't see it, but it has a battery that powers it for around 2 hours. That's the advanced model of the dog. 2 hours? Not ready for battle. Some battles you're going to get stuck in there. Are you going to be attacking a location, getting imaging, going in there with your robot dog, and then the robot dog is like, "Excuse me, rough. Do you have a wall outlet, rough, that I could use? Please don't dismantle me and unplug me so I don't continue reporting dog-reported facts." It's flawed. It's very flawed. The dog can also carry up to 7 kilos or 15 pounds of ammunition or medicines to hot spots on the battlefield. That's a pretty good use for it. I brought bullets and drugs. They're using the robot dogs. They're going to be implementing them soon. And if they ever fell into Russian hands, don't worry, an emergency switch allows the operator to erase all its data. I'd put in then like an extra function where it does take a shit on the enemy. I think that would be nice. Just makes it number 2. And everybody stares at then the enemy if they don't pick it up. And judges. It's a very strange time in the world. A lot for us to wrap our heads around and figure out. You might have been embroiled, pulled into the fray on social media with the Olympic boxer gender controversy that rocked the Olympics for much longer than that very short fight lasted, Newsweek reports in a roundabout way. Algerian boxer Imaine Khalif faced controversy after her Italian opponent, Angela Carini, withdrew from their bout at the Paris Olympics just a couple punches in. Critics, including, of course, Donald Trump and Italian Premier Giorgia Meloni, have raised concerns about gender in sports. You see, the 2023 World Championships disqualified Khalif due to high testosterone levels, and the IOC deemed the decision arbitrary and flawed, and then allowed Khalif to perform or to punch aggressively in the Olympics. Khalif's had a varied career, some success in regional tournaments and in the Tokyo Olympics. Her recent victory over Carini in just 46 seconds intensified the debate about her eligibility and gender fairness more broadly in sports. Commentators have criticized the IBA's disqualification process, the organization, for its lack of transparency. They insist no scientific or political consensus exists on gender and fairness. They write on that. Despite the controversy, Khalif remains a strong competitor. An Olympic spokesperson said, quote, "We strongly condemn the harassment she's been subjected to. It is unacceptable and goes against the values of Olympism," which I didn't even know was a word. I don't believe it is or should be. And this is a difficult issue. I'm not going to take a firm stance on this issue because it's just the facts keep moving. It's very hard to decide on an issue when the facts are unknown. That's something I've believed for a long time and has stopped nobody on social media, even rarely, myself included. I generally know all the facts first, but this one I got pulled in. I was like reposting stuff. It wasn't, then I found out the facts I reposted weren't accurate. But just look at the mental yo-yoing we're being asked to try as a populace to figure out on an issue such as this. Okay, so first we learn about this boxer. After this boxer punches a couple times, the other boxer steps down, and everybody who is super trans people in sports says, "Look, this is ridiculous. This is a biological male beating up a female." And while I used to be conflicted about trans women competing in women's sports just because of biological advantages, and I used to think that since they even acknowledge and agree that gender is the social construct but not sex, so why don't we just decide sports based on sex and not gender and let people gender identify as they like? And of course everybody should be respected and identified as they want in society, but perhaps not in sports where you have physical advantage. And I was changed out of that opinion when I shared that opinion on TYT, and then a bunch of trans people came at me on X, which itself transitioned from being Twitter to now X. And everybody accepted that transition fine. I didn't like it. I fought it for a while. And said that it seems to be the consensus that after about 2 years of hormone replacement therapy and hormone treatments, the biological advantages disappear. So I'm like, okay, if they disappear, then great. I'm cool with trans women competing in women's sports. But I hadn't considered boxing. I don't think anybody else had. And I've also grown up with a pretty key principle that I think is important, is you never hit a woman. As a man, you're taught that, never hit a woman. And I don't know anything about the hormone treatments of what was presented to me as a trans person punching a woman, and I'm torn out between equal treatment for trans people and also you don't hit a woman if you're not biologically a woman. That seems messed up. On the flip, the person was punched like 2-3 times, and boxing involves punching. Maybe if you're going to compete in the Olympics and you knew you were going to compete against that person and the Olympics said it was cool, you could decide to do the bout or not. But she decided to do it. She got punched. She backed out. So it's not the end of the world, even though it seems that way in public. And then it turns out that the boxer, Gleib, was not trans at all. So I was like, oh, boy. So I was posting on the other side of it. I'm like, turns out this person is not trans, and that is a total lie. This person was born a woman. It might just look not super feminine to you, but that's not a reason to get all bent out of shape, or I was going to say get your panties in a bunch, maybe the wrong analogy for that topic, or the right one, or both, depending on the phase of the transition. But if she was born a woman, then what's the problem? Then I'm told a lot of people saying, no, she's intrasex. Much different than me, who is into sex, but I digress. I don't even know what intrasex is. Now I got to learn, I got to become like a researcher to have an opinion on this thing. I understand that they're saying intrasex means you're somehow born a woman, but also you have the chromosomes of a man. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist or a doctor. Do you understand? We have to figure out where to land on this issue with incomplete facts, unreleased test results. So we're all like looking at the news, like judging, does this person look like a woman or a man? Or do we believe the IOC? What am I, Inspector Gadget over here? So I'm leaving this one. I don't know what the answer is. But just I wanted to comment on how insane it is that we as the public are expected to be solving this one. Can the powers that be solve this one? Can they get consensus? Can the athletic organizations figure it out? Let's just have a headache. My God. Taylor Swift terror plot was uncovered. When I first heard that, I was like, oh my God, Taylor Swift's a terrorist. But turns out, don't worry. Swifties, relax. She's not the one who was going to commit the terrorism. You can still wear your bracelets. You can still trade them at Taylor bracelet trading outposts. Pretty basic bracelets, too. I know I'm getting away from the main part of the story here, but Taylor Swift's concerts in Austria were called off after officials arrested 2 teenagers accused of plotting a terrorist attack. Roughly 200,000 people were scheduled to attend the sold-out Vienna shows. So, Vienna waits for you is very accurate, the Billy Joel song, because they're waiting for Taylor to come back at some point in the future, and she will. It'll be great. But the promoter had no choice. The promoter had no choice but to cancel the 3 scheduled shows for everybody's safety. I agree with that decision. Concert's not as important as someone's life. But it's very intense. Juliette Kayyem, former U.S. Department of Homeland Security Assistant Secretary, was speaking to my friend Amna Nawaz on PBS NewsHour. Amna, of course, one of the co-anchors of the show, and said the following that I think is very noteworthy about it, as a little bit of a deep dive into the details on it, and the details behind it, the ideologies behind it. She said it says 2 things. First, that not only it was serious, but that it was disrupted likely just hours before there could have been extreme violence. Then she said something that I found next level interesting. She said, quote, so I'm going to put this in terms of the global threat right now. So ever since the Israeli-Hamas war started, everyone has known that the global terror threat has increased. Part of that is just in response to the war itself. Part of it is just sort of the radicalization movement gets inspired by what's going on in Gaza and Israel. So we knew that already existed. So almost every area is an elevated threat environment. If you move over to France, the Paris Olympics understood this. They're at a higher threat level. Then you have the recruitment efforts by an organization like ISIS trying to prove its relevancy. What is this, high school? Do they really need to prove their relevancy? Can anybody just give up relevancy at some point? Maybe when you're a terror group, at some point, hang it up. You already had your moment in the sun. You lost it. Just let other terror groups have some shine for a while. You really have ego within your terror group? I guess it makes sense. Probably pretty narcissistic, not very empathic, caring people, these terrorists in ISIS. But they're trying to prove their relevancy, so they're trying to get to a high-profile event. But it's difficult to get access to it. Say like 15 or 20 years ago or 15 years ago, ISIS's tactic was they wanted people to come fight in a war. There's no war like that anymore. So what they're trying to do is recruit young men, isolated, maybe affiliated, getting radicalized online. And they radicalize in a very short period. That's the amazing thing. And tell them, do something catastrophic in your own country. You don't need to move across borders and risk getting caught. So that's what we know right now, and we'll continue for the foreseeable future targeting these high-profile events to make a statement and to show ISIS's relevance in an environment that has changed over the last couple of years for them. Now, what we understand now, and this could change, is one of the teenagers was known to law enforcement at the time. The specific individual who was arrested with the explosives was unknown, relatively, or unknown to law enforcement there, is then radicalized from what we understand from family members in a relatively short period of time, and probably just has been going down the rabbit hole of radicalization. They find you, they bring you into back channels, into websites or the dark web that we don't, and that you and I don't even follow, and basically launch. I'm still quoting her here. What could have been a terrible incident, not just, for Europeans, but Taylor Swift is an American icon. This was a focus on an image of and a reflection of America's openness, America's talent, youth, gender, everything she represents, and we're pretty lucky it was stopped. And why that's so interesting to me, this quote, is because just on a broader level, I'm thoroughly perplexed why so many in America have become okay with radical ideologies that hate us, that want to kill us. It's not just wanting to, and again, not excusing any particular action in a war, but the ideology behind wanting to wipe Israel from the map is the exact ideology behind wanting to wipe America from the map next, and all of us in the West. And these people hate us, hate our freedom, hate our values, hate our openness, hate the way we give equal rights to women, to gay people. They would throw them off of rooftops over there. In so many of the places controlled by radical Islamist theology. And a lot of people are on their side. They're on the side of the people that want to bomb and stab people at a Taylor Swift concert. How broken is our brains? Our brain's very broken, is the point. And so, just a little food for thought there. Try to remember, we're supposed to be on the side of not terrorist organizations, not countries that want us dead and are hell-bent on destroying us and are recruiting people to blow up joy-filled concerts. We get the Thunder Round in a minute, and we're going to wrap this episode up. By the way, if I didn't make it clear up top, I'm not just back sporadically. I'm back. This podcast is back. We are back, and we're better than ever, damn it. No, we back big time. You can be relying on this podcast weekly to be coming at your ears, filling you in and filling you up. Filling you up and down. I'm going to stop that sentence before it gets weird. Thunder Round in a moment to bring this puppy home with some weird, strange, fun stories. There is no Twitter answers this episode, and do I have to rename it X Answers? I'm also considering changing it from asking you a question to you asking me any question you want. I'll decide that in the next week. But if you follow me on X at Ben Gleib, and you also hashtag LWOE or hashtag Last Week on Earth, I'll see your questions and comments. I will read some questions next week on the air and answer them. I won't just read the questions and leave you hanging. I'm going to answer them. But the Thunder Round, we do some fun, weird, extra weird stories at the end to lighten things up. But you should know, on September 21st, I'm announcing this here first, I'm filming my 3rd-hour stand-up comedy special. It's called Endings. It's about the insanely hard year I had about a year and a half ago, it just ended about half a year ago. And I've been honing this hour, 70 minutes actually, and I'm filming at a hotel cafe in Los Angeles. September 21st. If you can make it there, I would love to have you in the audience for it. It's a beautiful venue. It'll be a really funny. I found somehow a way to find humor out of all these crazy things. I think you'll really enjoy it. I think it'll move you and you'll enjoy it. And I'm doing like 13 more test runs, 15 full test runs. I've already done 2 of them all around Southern California. So you can, if you can't make it to that, you can see a bunch in San Diego coming up. You can see one in Valencia. You can see one in Burbank. You can see one at the Hollywood Improv September 8th if you can't make the 21st at the Hollywood Improv Lab. That one's already up for sale. And you can get tickets to this. That should be live pretty much by the time this episode is hitting your ears. So there'll be a link to it in my bio on Instagram, I'm sure, and posting about it constantly. And if you're in my newsletter, which you can sign up for at bengleib.com, you'll definitely get the information that way as well. Still, like I said, anchoring the Young Turks. I'll be doing it twice this week. Happy birthday to my mom, who is turning 25 years old this week, and that's the amount I'm allowed to say publicly. And on that note, to the big Gleibers and all of us, to the friends with benefits, to the mad ones, the brain trust, it's time for the Thunder Round. Oklahoma dog starts house fire by chewing on battery, UPI reports. And Oklahoma canines in the doghouse, they had to do it, didn't they? They have to go with obvious puns in local news reports. It's the law. After being caught on camera starting a fire by chewing on a lithium-ion battery. The Tulsa Fire Department posted a very serious video showing the dog biting onto the battery and then sparking, and the dog runs away and then watches, kind of in strange, eerie glee as the house burns. Like, did the dog do it on purpose? Is this an arson dog? Is this dog wanting to escape so bad, and the only way it could think of doing that was by burning down the whole house? Burning down the house. Is that a song? I think so. I might have combined a couple there. Maybe the dog wanted to answer the age-old question, who let the dogs out? And the answer was that dog, by burning down the walls. The fire was on a bed. There was just a mattress on the ground, which is also not like a really great way to have a bed. Another dog and a cat watched from nearby, just shaking their head. Huh, Dale. Always Dale with the house fires. The reason I report this story is, A, I can happily tell you the dogs and cat were able to escape the house through a dog door. So no humans or animals were injured. And 2, if you've got both batteries and animals in your home, you're going to have to make a choice. You're going to have to make that Sophie's choice. Do you want devices or do you want dogs? Do you want computers or do you want cats? Do you want phones or do you want parrots? The alliteration technically still works there, but the PH becoming an F also kind of fucked me. Do you want ferrets or do you want phones? And now it works auditorily, and this is a podcast. But if this clip is captioned, it doesn't work so well on account of the lettering. That's something I'm going to have to live with. Woman who said her husband chained her to a tree for 40 days, apparently tied herself up. Metro UK reports. That is a very strange move. An American woman was found chained to a tree in an Indian forest, tied herself up, police believe. Lalita Kai Kumar, 50 years old, was found in a forest near Sonurli village, about 280 miles from Mumbai, just 10 days ago. She was discovered after a local shepherd heard her cry for help. She was taken to a hospital where she was treated for dehydration and being a psycho. Kumar was initially unable to speak, as I cannot, and so she communicated with her doctors and with the police by writing messages on a notepad. Then miraculously she could speak again. In the message she wrote in the notepad, She described her ordeal and then accused her husband of leaving her in the forest for 40 days. However, police have told the BBC that Kumar has now admitted that she is not married and she's receiving psychiatric treatment. Prob's the right call. Police say it's likely she was suffering from hallucinations. I mean, maybe, but still lucid enough to grab rope and tie yourself to a tree. One clue they also probably could have realized was the knot was in front, because how could you tie the knot behind? Maybe you could, actually. I'd never tried to tie myself to anything. That's not one of my kinks. I would never tie myself down. It just seems like you risk not being able to release yourself, as this woman found out. She also had a mobile phone, a tablet, and 31,000 rupees, about $370 in her possession. She has spoken to her family in America on the phone, and her doctor told the BBC that she's eating, walking, and exercising, as well as being given some nutrients that her body was lacking. I just hope she can find the peace she needs and can be set free as soon as possible so she can return to the tree where she belongs. She can tie herself back up and live out her days as a happy, tree-bound, self-inflicted person. I just want people to achieve their dreams, really, is the main thing. Which brings me to our last story today. Groundhog found inside claw machine at Pennsylvania mini golf course. UPI bringing this story to us. That's right, a groundhog. Living was found inside those toy machines that rob children of their money and teach them how the world is corrupt. And the little claw comes down and it barely has any strength. And it just massages, it kind of wispily massages, weakly touches the top of the stuffed toy and always drops it. And you just lose money. Well, a Pennsylvania game warden was summoned to a mini golf course after employees spotted an unusual prize in that machine, a live groundhog. The Pennsylvania Game Commission South Central Region said in a Facebook post, the game warden, Salvatore Zafuto, the coolest name for a game warden. Hello, I'm Salvatore Zafuto, the warden of game. I'm here for a groundhog. He was called out to Meadows Family Fun Mini Golf in Duncansville when the groundhog somehow found its way into the claw machine, where the groundhog did. So not only are kids losing all their allowance money, they're also getting 2 more weeks of winter. Is that what's happening here? They saw the wave of stuffed animals move as the groundhog scurried around underneath all the other toys. Now, I don't consider a groundhog a toy, but that sentence did make it erroneously seem like I did. Then it popped its head out to assess the situation. A representative of the company that operates the claw machine was called out to unlock it so Zavuto could remove the groundhog. Listen, I am only the game warden. I do not have the key, the master key to the claw machine. Please call the claw machine operator. Zavuto needs him. Happy to report in this story also the animal was not injured. Was released back into the wild. So, really difficult to catch a groundhog with the claw itself in an attempt to win what seemed like an incredibly lifelike stuffed animal. A local child lost $300,000. And I'm making that up for sure. But I'm probs not far off, right? It's so good to be with all of you again. We're going to be doing this a lot every week. I'll also be bringing you sometimes episodes of Last Week on the Road or Last Guest on Earth, where I just have conversations with interesting people doing interesting things. And maybe not cover any stories, but most weeks you'll be getting that news that you need, that you crave, with a little bit of insanity thrown in by me. And that's Henry saying goodbye and good night. Henry, just 1 second, buddy. Just 1 second. Henry, quiet. Henry, quiet, please, for 1 second. Henry, 1 second. I'm on the last line of the podcast, literally. Henry, quiet. 1 second, Henry, please. Henry, please be quiet for 1 second. Henry, please, for crying out loud. Until last week, next week, this has been Last Week on Earth.